Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Broede Show. This is Broede. And on the phone, I have my own mother for my first guest. Hello there.
Hello there.
How's it going tonight?
I'm doing fine. Just listening to the crickets.
What's that?
I said listening to the crickets.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm hearing him too over here. It's outdoors. Outdoors is always fun at night, especially when it's smoldering hot out and you're just sweating like a pig.
It's actually not too bad tonight.
So, what did you think of the first show? What you saw of it anyway, or what you heard of it?
It was good, except you kept jumping the rails.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that when I'm just I'm just going on and on and on my own.
It was funny. It was funny. I was laughing.
So,
I
well,
you need to put work where you are and where you leave off, so you don't jump the track.
so you had something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast from last night. And you were talking about the different classes of people with their income,
Yeah.
and what you didn't cover was the elderly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Because my biggest complaint, other than Social Security isn't worth a crap, but you have somebody like myself who's bringing in, we'll say, $750 a month, which for the year is less than $10,000. Is paying just as much for their Social Security, Medicare, B benefit as somebody who's making $84,000 a year.
Wow.
Now how is that right? And then the next class is $170,000.
Oh, really?
So somebody that's bringing in $85,000 a year, you're talking what? Several $1,000s a month? Is paying the same price as me, who's bringing in, per se, $750 a month.
Excuse me. Sorry. That's that's quite a bit a month. What was it like my seven? It's like seven, something like that. 7,000 a month. So you're paying the same amount that they are.
Yeah.
Well, that checks.
Several thousands a month. I don't know what the exact figures of $84,000 a year would be per month.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I missed that. One more time.
$84,000 a year. I do not know what that would be per month. I didn't figure that one out.
Well, that's like I said, it's several thousand. But yeah, so you're paying the same amount as someone that's making that much.
Yes.
So what you're saying? Okay, so yeah, well, I mean that checks out because there's like I also mentioned was that a lot of times the uber rich, they don't pay the same in tax because we all pay an income tax, but they have a tendency to pay capital gains tax instead, which is it means they don't work. What it means is they have money, they have investments or whatever, and they just sit on the interest and they just pay off a little bit of that. Now, I don't understand how people that don't work hard, that don't work at all for their money, why they're paying less than people that do work, and that is their sole income. I mean, so it checks out. It stays with the whole. I mean, you see the pattern there. There's the narrative of the weak and the helpless, the vulnerable, it's the elderly are really impacted a lot of times by scams, such as I was talking about the evangelicals last night. Well, they get targeted by stuff like that, and then you have Republicans are always wanting to cut all kinds of social programs, because they know they've got a nest egg. They don't have to worry about a thing once they get into one of those high offices. They're taken care of for the rest of their lives, and they've got the best medical coverage that money can buy, and they probably don't even pay shit for it.
Right, and then you got somebody like me who's only getting so much a month, they can't even afford $4 to go to Walmart and get their medicine.
Yeah, there's a lot of, medications. Necessary medications are just, the prices are outlandish because these pharmaceutical companies, they love to hike up the prices because you don't have a choice, but you have to take these meds, or in some cases, some people may die if they don't take these certain medications. So, like, you remember the EpiPen thing, right? When that got, that was like raised to like several hundred or even thousands of dollars. I don't remember exactly, but
$100,000. Yeah. Well, now they got a new company that's coming out with a lot cheaper one. But two, we're talking about high-priced medicine. The two inhalers I have to have every day both cost over $1,000 a month.
wow, $1,000 a month,
Yeah, $1,000 a month, over $1,000 a month.
and you don't draw that either, do you? I'm sorry, I said you don't draw that much, do you?
No, but I'm one of the lucky ones that I don't have to pay for it because I have Medicare D, which takes care of my prescription. And
So,
I also have Humana with it, so Humana picks up all the cost of my medication.
yeah, but like you said, you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, I am one of the lucky ones. But now when it comes to the doctor, that's another story.
What do you mean?
I have to pay whatever the cost is to go plus 10%. So if they would do $1,000 worth of blood work, I'd have to pay the office visit, which would be no less than $100, and on top of that, another $100 for any blood work, and top it all off my cash scans that I get every 6 months. You're talking thousands of dollars, which by the time you add it up, it's my whole paycheck.
Yeah, so then you got nothing left for anything else, like food, rent, etc.
Right.
So, that's, there's a broader narrative that you could see that's unfolding with that. It's the poor people have no means of we're at the mercy of predatory capitalism, basically. And thankfully when they do raise prices that incredibly, they do they do create a backlash that eventually helps take care of it. But the problem is it usually requires something so outlandish like that. But they don't, stuff like this doesn't get the attention, right?
Right.
Now you have a group. You're a part of several Facebook groups, right? One of them. Does one of them have to do with that, right?
COPD, yes.
Okay, so what are the reasons for this group?
For people who have COPD, that they get the truth about it. There are so many Facebook groups that do not tell you the truth, and they want to push what you would call an agenda on them. They want you to do this. They say that this is the best for you to do, or this is the best for you to do, when neither one of them is going to help you with it. The best to do if you have something like COPD is to take your medicine, exercise, and eat.
Right. Well, that sounds like
that's what's going to keep you healthy. Not taking certain vitamins and certain supplements is okay, but you have to ask your doctor first so it doesn't interfere with the medicine that you're already on. A lot of people with COPD also have heart trouble, depression. Oh my God, depression.
Yeah. Oh well, like you were talking about with the vitamins though. Like I remember way back when I was first diagnosed with high blood pressure, and one of the things that they were doing was they told me I had to. I don't remember why, but I was given a shot like every month or something like that. It's for my blood count or something. But they wanted me to eat. They wanted me to stabilize my intake of vitamin K. And
They is a serious vitamin. And a lot of people don't even know it. Have never even heard of it.
but vitamin K.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I've really never heard anyone talk about it outside of just like anecdotes like this. I
Yeah.
rarely hear vitamin K ever even mentioned, but it's important because it's something to do with your blood, something to do with your like your the thickness of your blood. I believe that's what it was. And the reason why I had to stabilize my intake was because my blood was being thinned because of my high blood pressure. They didn't want me to clot, and it's something to do with if I don't, I have to eat the exact same amount of, I have to have the exact same amount of vitamin K intake every week to match with what I'm getting injected with. But I haven't had to do that in a long time now. But um, what and you said what was that you said next after the vitamins,
And supplements.
the supplements?
Yeah. A lot of people will push, what do you want to call them? Herbal-wise things, what is that word they call? Homo,
Holistic?
yes.
Oh
And
yeah,
even that stuff will interact with medicine that you're already taking.
right.
Like right now, I'm on an antidepressant. You gotta watch what you take with whatever medicines you take with the antidepressant.
Well, I mean, isn't that holistic stuff just woo though? It's
It's supposed to be natural herbs and stuff like that, oils. But I don't know. I have a hard time. It's just like it's even people who believe it. It's just like taking my hydrocodone. All it does is ease my pain. It just masks it. It doesn't help it. It doesn't take care of it. It just masks it.
right. Um, shoot, what was I? There it goes.
Now,
There goes my brain reset.
my antidepressant, if I don't take it in the morning, I'm completely good by the afternoon.
Yeah, depression. That was another thing you mentioned. Depression. Depression. That's a tough beast, isn't it?
It's very serious.
Yeah, a lot of people don't take depression very seriously. I know it's getting more mainstream attention now in the last couple of years than ever before, but it's still in its early stages, really. I mean, so many people suffer it every day, and no matter how positive they may act, uh, depression can seep very deeply. And like some of the famous rock stars that have been committing suicide lately, like Chris Cornell and oh my God, I can't remember the singer for Linkin Park's name.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I
And
forgot his name.
that good guy, that designer,
Anthony Bourdain.
these people have been doing it the last several months, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's a problem. There's been a fucking problem for a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, depression. A lot of times, people, they'll be told things like, "Oh, suck it up."
Yeah.
But it's so much harder than that, especially when, and a lot of depression, I think, extends from, you know, people that are marginalized in some way or another. Like like for me, when I was young, I've always been overweight, so was always I was picked on, and people didn't want to. People didn't do stuff with me, so people weren't very. The other kids were always very cruel. I didn't have very many friends. So the other friends that I had were pretty much they had something quote unquote wrong with them too, because they didn't fit in. So I ended up being one of the misfits, and of course, when you join the misfits, then you end up getting into shit that you shouldn't be doing. But I mean, that's all part and parcel with depression, because you want. A lot of times, people just want to feel like they belong somewhere. They want to feel like they have someone they can reach out to, and a lot of times what happens is that they'll reach a point in that depression where they finally just say, that's it, I'm done, and then it's over, and it's so sad because it's not really.
It's very sad because there's always somebody out there. And also, another big point of is pain.
What's that? I didn't catch that.
It's pain.
Pain.
Yes. That will cause deep depression too.
Yes, it will. When you're in chronic pain, and I know that a lot of times people, when they late in life, a lot of times the reason they'll give up is because they're in so much pain that they just want it to be over with. And I think that's the way it was for my grandparents, actually. I think they were just tired of hurting and falling apart. And honestly, no one cared about them. As like when it, what a, you know what I mean by no one cared about them. I mean like government that abandoned them, and all they had to rely on were friends and family. They don't.
Also because when they get older and they can't do as much for themselves, they feel like a burden. I deal with that all the time when people say that they're a burden to their family.
Yeah, I've said that. I end up saying that a number of times in the last couple of years or so.
It's not that they are, they just feel like it.
Yeah, I know, and we don't get treated like it either, is the thing. I don't get treated like I'm a burden, but I still feel like one.
Yeah, because you're tired of asking for help all the time.
Yeah, and human beings just have an innate desire for independence. Most people want to be free and be able to be autonomous. They want their autonomy. And I think once people start losing their autonomy is when their health really starts to decline, because that's when depression could get. Elderly depression is really a scary thing. I mean, it's very real. And if you got someone that's already had a lot of trouble with depression in their younger life, and they start entering these stages of life, I don't know. It's sad, and a lot of times the elderly, they don't really necessarily. I don't think they commit suicide. I don't really hear that too much, but they end up living with that depression until they don't kill themselves. They just give up. Their bodies just shut down.
And a lot of elderly people will take a lot of pain medicine. They'll mistreat they'll actually abuse their pain medication. If they want to go, they're going to go.
Yeah. So how do you?
You don't hear about that in the news, because some 70-year-old guy passed away. Well, everybody thinks it's a heart attack.
Well, let me ask you something though. Here's an interesting thing though. Like the voluntary euthanasia. You know what I'm talking about?
The right to die.
The right to die stuff. Yeah. How do you feel about all that?
Well, it's actually, I believe it's death by dignity. I don't know. Maybe because I'm not in that situation.
Yeah.
I I'm in a lot of pain every day. I deal with it. Sometimes I spend most of the day in bed because I just don't want to take all that pain medicine. But my pain is not, unlivable.
Well, what I mean is like the way I look at that, the whole right to die thing. It's like, why are they spending the resources to assist people in dying when they can use the same resources to try to find better ways for them to continue to live?
But that's true too.
And so it's like, what? I don't know. I understand why people want that right, and I respect that. But at the same time, that just feels like a horrible place to go. Because I mean, yeah, it's a good thing to have that care, but to focus really heavily on it, it's like, why aren't we finding ways to improve life? But we're not doing that because there's no money to be made off that. Once you make someone healthy, you can't make any money off of a healthy person, can you?
That's what somebody today in my group asked if there was a cure. And I had told her there is no cure. You get worse. That is the way it is. But like me, I'm living stage 2, thank goodness, and I'm at 58 years old. I'm more than apt to go out there and die in a car accident than I am of the COPD in the next 20 years.
Right.
But I can also one day wake up and then hit a bump, and I'll wake up in, stage 3 or stage 4 because my body just took a shit out. It's just, it's whatever your higher power or however you believe, but that's just the way it goes. You can't control it. It's not all you can do is do what's right.
Yeah.
What you think is right. But you can't, even with the depression and the pain, you can't just sit around and mope about it all the time. You got to get your blood up and you got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as the whole beyond and the higher power stuff, the way I look at it is, I know that we have this life. We really need to do our best to make the best of this one, and because there's no guarantee that there is an afterlife, whether any of us believe in that or not is irrelevant. None of us know. So,
you're right about that.
But I think to me, if there is a God, a truly loving God, as portrayed by some of these religions, then that God would judge you based on your merits, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a good person, that should be all that matters to any actual loving God. It shouldn't matter whether or not you believe in, because I'm sorry. What if my daughter didn't know I existed? I'd still want her to be a good person. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, but yeah, this stuff is pretty serious, and like I said, I'm seeing it being taken more seriously. It's sad. It took so many people in so many celebrities and beloved icons killing themselves to finally start, jump starting to talk. But it's like it'll be forgotten in a couple weeks. But did you hear about the 9-year-old, by the way, that committed suicide?
No.
Because he was bullied at school. Apparently, he came out. He wanted to come out at 9 years old, and he got bullied at school until he killed himself.
That's just wrong. How can a 9-year-old even grasp the thought of killing himself?
Well, I'm not sure how a 9-year-old grasps that they're gay either. But then again, I didn't start looking at girls at 9 yet. But everybody matures differently, so I don't know. I can't speculate on that. I still liked my video games up until I was like 11 or 12.
I don't know. I got a 17-year-old around here and still loves video games.
Well, I mean, I didn't really have much of an interest in girls until I started getting closer to 13. Even though, um, I brain just totally reset. I have no idea what I was talking about.
We went from God to girls.
Girls are great though, aren't they?
My granddaughters are. My daughters are, but as far as that goes,
Oh, do what?
I think my granddaughters and my daughters are, but I don't know about anything else like that.
Oh yeah, women are awesome. My wife is really awesome. I, I, I don't have a whole lot I could say I struck gold on in life, but that's definitely one thing I did strike gold on was my wife and daughter. And that's
Yep, and I'm very proud of you for that.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
So we're getting close to half an hour in. Did you? I can hear your puppies going off in the background.
Yeah.
They reaction to the.
What I was going to say about, back here several months ago, they had Ted Koppel on the news about his wife having COPD.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it was a big deal. And then 2 weeks later, everybody forgot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, nobody cares about it anymore.
That's the American attention span for you, I guess, huh?
But it's the third highest killer of people of the world.
Damn.
Yeah.
Third highest, huh?
Yep. And the only thing higher than it is heart attacks and accidents.
Accidents is probably number one, right?
No, heart attacks is number 2.
Really?
Number 1.
Really? Wow. That's interesting. Are we talking about Americans or are we talking about globally?
Global.
Wow. That's fascinating.
This is a global problem, especially in what would you call them, uncivilized countries.
Yeah.
Or
Third world nations, I guess you would say.
Not just uncivilized, but the nasty ass countries.
The what?
The nasty ass countries.
I got you. The third world countries, right?
There you go.
They have problems with COPD and heart attacks?
Well, yeah, because the water's nasty, there's disease, the air's nasty.
Well, that sounds like China right there because they've got such horrible pollution.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call them a third world nation, but I would definitely call it dirty.
Okay, I would do some research by country on this then.
What,
We can talk about that another day.
wait, I missed that. What now?
I said I will research it by country and we can talk about it another day.
Oh, okay. Well, so, was there anything else from the podcast before that you wanted to talk about?
It was, but I don't remember. I was going to write it down, but I was just, didn't have any paper or pencil with me when I was first listening.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. That's cool. So why don't we talk about us a little bit? I guess.
Okay.
Did you? Did I mention anything about? Because we talked about my grandparents, and I mentioned talking to you and Jennifer in that last one too. I don't know. I feel like I'm putting myself on the spot. I don't really know what to say.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
What about the, I got distracted by a Discord message. Oh,
Okay, I got something for you.
okay, go ahead.
What do you think about that shooting down in Florida about that gamer shit?
Oh, yeah, I haven't done any further research on it. All I know that, all I do know is that the last time I read up on it, they said that it was because he was butthurt about losing some tournament.
Yeah, because he was the winner the year before. But my thing is how did he get in there with the guy?
Yeah, why did they let him carry in there anyway? Did they not know?
So he was carrying that from now on.
Oh shit! All those things. Sorry.
That Marvel, huh?
Oh yeah, that mob really. I said I wasn't going to do that on the cast again. And then I lied.
So hard to do that.
Oh shit!
I think I even talked to my phone when you said that.
I'm trying not to die right here on the damn show.
You said that last night too.
Yeah, I know. You think I'd learn or something like that, but my stupid lizard brain just enjoys the tantalization too much to pass it up. So,
if he actually died, he'd be famous. Oh, you got to hear that he was dying on podcast.
Do what? I didn't catch any of that.
I said you'd be famous if you died while you were doing a podcast.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't want to. Who would upload it? Because it's not live. Now maybe if it was a live one, yeah. Well, I don't think I want to. That would suck to go out like that, right in the middle of a podcast. That would suck. Tim Russert, man. Didn't Tim Russert die on the set of Meet the Press, though?
I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
Well, you remember John Ritter, right? He died on the set of, what was it, the 8 Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter?
Yeah.
The TV adaptation of that book. Yeah, he died right on the set of, from what I understand. That's I guess it's a good thing to die doing what you love, but holy shit. Excuse me. I can, something? I got this thing that I do for my friends and stuff. I turned into Rick for a while. I turned into Rick for a while. Are you familiar with Rick and Morty?
Oh, okay.
God, I'm so dumb.
Better not be wasting that crap.
Oh, Morty, it's gonna be great.
Well, I don't even slow that down when I wake up in the morning.
Oh God, I'm so dumb. Why did I do that? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I gotta put that away. I didn't mean to do that. I'm out of cigarettes. So, oh, that sucks.
Through the phone, but it doesn't work like that.
Right? I don't. I won't be able to get in until the morning. So that's okay, because I'm probably gonna fall asleep after this is over. I can see it now. There's going to be someday, if I do 1,000 of these, maybe there's going to be somebody out there that will make a collage of just my coffee. That would be so funny. Anyway, so I do this thing once in a while. I turn into Rick for a while, and I start going crazy like Rick does, and I've got the Rick burp down and everything. Oh, I didn't even try that one though. That just comes from me high a lot. So, I'm done with that. What are we talking about? Did you fall asleep?
You said something about we were going to talk about us.
Oh yeah, I can't think of nothing though, man. Put on the spot like that, you know, I don't know what to say. So, well, what's oh, you know, so I went over that whole Roseanne thing. What do you think of that?
Okay, you ready for this? That Samantha Bee that's on TBS and sit there and talk bullshit about the president's wife, and she still keeps her job. And she said some nasty shit.
Wait, who said that?
Samantha Bee. I cannot stand
Oh, Samantha Bee.
I cannot stand her.
Oh my god. I know who that is. That's funny. She's the chick that used to be on Daily Show with Jon Stewart and got her own show, right? That's the full frontal Samantha Bee.
Yeah.
So she's saying stuff about Melania Trump.
No, sorry. Yeah. And she says some nasty stuff, and she keeps her job, and she gets an Emmy.
I don't know.
If you're white and you say something bad about a black person, you're gonna lose your job.
I have no idea. I have no idea about the Samantha Bee stuff. I didn't. I mean, I knew she's a hardline lefty. I mean, so was Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah. Oh my God, Trevor Noah! I can't stand that guy. He's just not funny. I don't understand why people find him funny. His timing sucks. His delivery is crap. Well, I don't get why they. Why didn't they give Larry Wilmore that job, man? That's what they should have done. But no, see, Wilmore dared talk to people. He dared talk to the wrong people, man. He dared to say the wrong things. Larry Wilmore, man, that motherfucker's woke. You know who that is?
No.
Oh man, well, he had a show for a while. He was originally on the Daily Show, but he's a bald black guy who wears glasses usually, and he is just super funny. And he lost his show, and I don't know. I don't know what's really happened to him ever since then. But man, that guy deserves a show. That guy is fucking hilarious. And I've heard that Stephen Colbert has become unbearable ever since his new job. And I haven't seen a whole lot of his show. The new show, I just don't find that interesting. I liked him when he played that stupid right-wing puppet character as Stephen Colbert. But when he took over for The Tonight Show and started to get all serious, and then he starts doing the whole cock holster thing. What? Whew.
I don't watch the late night shows because all they do is put down people who support Trump and Trump, calling them ignorant and stupid. Well, I'm not trying to get into politics thing, but you don't call people stupid just because of who they voted for.
Well, and see, here's the funny
You don't
thing.
go out there and try to beat them up and fucking kill them just because they voted for Trump.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the hilarious thing, though, is that, but see, they're so distracted by Trump, Russia, Putin. They're so distracted by the dog and pony show that's going on in front of their faces instead of paying attention to the assholes actually running things. Then this is just a fucking, it's amateur hour because, and I'm glad. No, see, here's the funny thing. I am glad that Trump won and is doing shitty things because America was already doing most of these shitty things, but since Trump has been in office and he's been such a blowhard, people aren't turning a blind eye to it anymore. Even though most of them are blaming Trump, like the whole ICE thing. Obama was detaining immigrants in cages under his administration long before it happened under Donald Trump's. And
but nobody cared about that.
What's that?
Nobody cared about that.
Yeah, I know, because Obama was a statesman. And, oh my God, especially since McCain's death, everyone's talking about, oh, what a statesman he is. What? He's a fucking warmonger. Yeah, sure, he served in the military, an awesome job, etc. Salute him. But fuck, he was a piece of shit, man. He voted for the Iraq War. He voted for this horrible thing after. He was he wanted war with Syria. He wanted war with Libya. He wanted war with Kosovo. He wanted war with Iran, which now is like. There was a list that a few years ago, I heard this list of 7 countries that we wanted to invade, and we had only invaded like 3 or 4 of them at the time. But now, all but one of them have been invaded, because it included like Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, I think it's one of them. Syria, if not Libya, it might have maybe both. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that Iran is the last one on that list. So, and they're really trying to ramp up bullshit with Iran lately. So I think they're trying to direct us into another war. And these wars, John McCain was all for it. So yeah, I don't understand the weird ass-kissing that's going on by, especially, like, I understand the Republicans doing it, like Donald Trump. No, my bad. Donald Trump hated John McCain, that's right. No, talking about, like, Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz and those shitbags. But I don't understand why in the world any Democrat would stand up there and say, I can understand saying, we're colleagues, etc. But lying about his record, lying about what kind of a person he was, I don't give a shit that he was civil and a statesman. I mean, in a way, Trump has been a good thing for so many reasons. Because he tears the statesman bullshit face off of the government. He just tears it right off and exposes and it's not just the corruption, his corruption, but the news is all focusing on his corruption because they don't want to expose everybody else's corruption. He's this big old puppet, and I doubt for a minute that Donald Trump is worried about going to prison. I mean, there's a shit ton of reasons why the Clintons should be in prison, but they're not, and that'll never happen, probably. The Bushes will never be in prison.
And this thing about, coming back on Obamacare, I think that the government and people that voted for it ought to be honest. Because they're not supposed to make any laws that affect the people that doesn't affect them.
Yeah, and a lot of like I'm noticing that like a lot of young people do not want health insurance because you're like, oh, I'm young, I'm fit, why do I need to worry about that? And they don't want to waste their money on it. But see, they forget or they just don't understand what the word insurance means. What's that? I'm sorry. You're breaking up. This sucks.
I said they'll understand insurance when they have something pre-existing and their insurance will cover it.
Oh yeah, I know. But that's just a weird mentality that people have. Well, I don't want to pay into something that could help others because I might lose a few bucks for a few years, but then they don't realize that, well, if something were to happen, or maybe something catastrophic happens, then they're fucked. Then they suddenly start giving a shit about it. But I mean, that's the thing of youth, though. That's I don't know if that's something that can really be counteracted. I mean, sometimes reckless youth just needs that that brick wall to teach it a lesson. It's sad, but that is the universe we exist in. But
I know, like the insurance, if like Heather and Julie have, it costs him quite a bit of, a week or a month, whatever he pays, and he's still got a large copay to pay.
Yeah, copays.
People like them need the help because they're a young family, trying to make it, trying to raise a family, and he's got to pay, a quarter of his check every week goes to child support. Well, that's his own fault for making kids, but.
Oh. So, yeah, it's and Obamacare was really just kind of a Band-Aid. It's really just Romney Care repackaged, honestly. And it was, I mean, the public option wasn't given to us. People were asking for the public option for a long time. And that's what drives me nuts about this country. The people overwhelmingly want things like Medicare and better wages, jobs. Was it job security? Yeah, they want job security, but I don't think that's something from the government. Overwhelmingly, people want things like the Medicare for all, the free college. That was another thing that's very popular in this country, and we're not doing it. And they keep saying that it doesn't work, socialism doesn't work, but then you look at places like Finland and Denmark and the Scandinavian nations up there, and there's a few others, but they keep citing Venezuela, even though that's not really. I mean, socialism has nothing to do with their decline. Their decline has been something to do with their money becoming worthless. I don't remember the whole story about it, but their money has been made worthless over the last few decades, and they are in a really bad place right now.
And because the government's so corrupt.
Yeah, but I'm saying they are citing Venezuela as a reason to not take on Medicare for all, just because they have it. But there's so many other nations that are successful and do it successfully, and places that have there's a World Happiness Index. Can you believe there's a thing? But there's actually there's some kind of an organization online that tracks the happiness of people. They ask people in general how happy they are, and these nations that have all these things are the happiest nations in the world.
Right.
So it's like, well, why aren't we doing things that would make us all happy? But we have such a disgusting patriarchal society set up here, and I'm not talking about the whole patriarchy thing, but I am in a way talking about it, not like feminists do when they throw that word around, but I mean we have a serious problem with the whole patriarchal model of, we need a big daddy, we need a big brother, um, and I associate religious people with that because, they fall under the banner of needing someone to tell them what's right and what's wrong and what to do. And, a lot of the whole patriotism thing, that's why there are a lot of hardcore Trump followers, because they have that complex and they look to them to guide them. But the problem is, and it's not just him, it's all politicians. And people need someone to guide them. They just want to be a sheep. We have too many people that just want to be sheep.
Okay, here's a little story about being cheap. Let's go. We're going to go back to the Civil War, to a battle that happened around here. I don't remember which battleground it was. But their commanding officer got killed.
Okay.
It was for the South, okay? One of the commanding officer got killed. And the majority of them got killed because nobody could step up and tell them what to do. They didn't know what to do. So they just stood there and died.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. People want, they want to look up to somebody.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of ingrained in people from a young age, and it may even be an evolutionary thing too, for that matter. I'm not sure, but people that follow these figures, damn it. Oh, I am creative tonight, man. I tell you what. But they start relying on these people too much, and then they get they start voting against their best interests. Now, see, that's the huge thing. What I don't know if you're paying attention or not, but there's that Andrew. I think his name's Andrew Gillum today, that won the Florida primary, the Democratic primary to. He's running for governor. I think it's Florida. And he didn't run on corporate PAC money, or he was the only one that was not a millionaire. And all of his opponents outspent him like 4-1 at least. And he still won. And it's because we're getting tired of the corruption and the politicians that take donor money, big donations, and corporate money, lobbyist money. We're sick of them. We're sick of establishment sycophants going up there taking this huge paycheck on our dime and voting against what we want. The reason we put them there in the first place. We're so sick of just being lied to. Oh yeah, sure, we'll give you what you want. A little bit at a time, incrementally. That's the huge problem I had with Hillary Clinton and the Clintons and all the Clintonites. The Hillbots, if you want to call them that, but they...
Do you have any idea what the Clintons did when they were here in Arkansas?
You talking about when they were lawyers?
Yeah, but what she did, I can't remember what it was called, Whitewater?
I mean, I'm familiar with Whitewater. I know I heard that name a lot back when I actually listened to Rush Limbaugh when I was young and dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked about Whitewater all the time. Uh, but it turns out that Hillary actually was a shitty person after all, not just because Rush said so, but because she.
Because a lot of people that were involved with that, it was, I think it was what they call it, a real estate thing with her here in Arkansas.
I thought no, it's law. No, she was in law.
Yeah, a lot of the people that were involved in this are dead.
Are you talking about like the Vince Foster stuff?
I'd have to read up on it again. But I know that the majority of people that were involved in that scandal that she had here in Arkansas are dead now.
Oh yeah, well, one of them was Vince Foster. I thought Vince Foster was the name that was circulated really heavily around the time that whole scandal broke out, and he was, I guess, he was a supposed suicide, but that was very questionable.
Right.
So yeah, I'm aware of the Whitewater stuff, for like I said, from all that time ago. But I
Yeah, a long
mean,
time ago.
what I do know is that, like I said, I don't know. I don't know personally too much about that. I honestly do not have any clue if they really did have people knocked off. But then there's this whole Seth Rich thing that came out recently, and people thought that was, it is questionable. Seth Rich's death, he was supposed to be coming out with an expose, I guess, on how the Clintons had the primary rigged, and then all of a sudden he ends up dead. He was robbed, but none of his stuff was taken. But they claimed it was a robbery. How does that make sense? They left his watch on him. They left his wallet in his pocket with his money in place. They didn't take anything. They just killed him and left. So I don't understand. What exactly did they rob other than his life?
Well, the only reason she moved to New York is because she couldn't come back to Arkansas and get voted in.
Well, because she's so hated locally?
Oh, yeah. This whole state hates her.
The thing is that she is wildly unpopular. She has a terrible, she was destined to lose against Trump. She really was. Because in her arrogance, she ignored the flyover states, the ones that had all the electoral votes. Because you know how that whole thing is with the electoral college, right?
Yeah.
Well, small states with low populations, they can sway the vote a great deal. So you don't need to win the popular vote. Granted, she did win the popular vote, but she still lost, and it was the system that everyone knew existed for the last 20 years. I mean, Clinton's been in this thing since her husband was in office. She knew the deal. She knew it was the Electoral College that mattered. And I made this awesome meme the night of the election because she actually conceded before the election results were in, before he actually won, before he was confirmed. She had already long conceded by then, and she was supposed to go in front of. What's that?
I was watching ABC News, the election night, and you could just see George Stephanopoulos. I thought he was going to cry because Trump won. I hate him.
Yeah, he's a bit insufferable, isn't he?
Yeah. But it was so funny to see his face when Trump won.
Oh, I know.
He doesn't talk bad.
The country just universally shit the bed, man. And it was great because you know the show South Park, right?
Yeah.
They had their episode ready to go with Hillary as the winner, and then like right at the last minute, because when Trump won, they had to go and redo the whole damn episode. They had to retool the episode. So many people thought it was a foregone conclusion, but I kept telling people on Twitter, I kept telling people that I talked to in person, he's going to win, he's going to win. Nobody listened. And they shouldn't have fucking rigged. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of Bernie-crats went over to Trump, which is unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because there are people that are so anti-Hillary that they will vote against her no matter who it is.
Yep.
And she earned that. She earned that reputation.
Oh my God, could you imagine what kind of shithole this would be if she would have won?
What, the country?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, it really wouldn't look any different than it does now. Only we'd have everyone crowing at the Queen instead of chomping at the bit over the giant orange clown. That's the only difference. They would, instead of the media spending all this time barking about Trump, the media would spend all its time slobbering all over Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And pretending that everything she did was great, even though she'd be continuing all of the same policies that Trump did, with maybe a few exceptions here and there, I'll grant. But honestly, she's a warmonger too. She's a Republican. She's a Republican light. And money is what matters to her. Like when you first brought her up, I listened to her the audio clip of her from back when she's a lawyer, and she defended someone that had assaulted an underage girl. And it's like, yeah, I know that they need defense and all. But the way she sounded so proud of getting this guy off.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And the thing is as an attorney, I would feel like if I knew that they were guilty, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could still do my job. I don't. Because it's like, nope, I'm out. You really did it. No, I'm out. But there are a lot of people that are willing to put that aside. But most people, most reasonable, rational, sympathetic human beings would admit that, yeah, that they did that, but they're not happy with it. They're not proud of it. They would probably distance themselves from it and be like, oh, I hate the fact that I did that, but this is a necessary job. The job is necessary in order for justice to be even. But I would not be able to, I don't know, man. Me personally, I don't think I could live with myself doing that. But I have to give respect to people that can. But to sound so proud of it.
She's joking about it.
Yeah, she's bragging about it, and that's the disgusting part of it. That's just truly monstrous. And the thing is that I expect that from a monster because she's the person that said about, what was it, Gaddafi? We came, we saw, he died.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... Woohoo! Violence around the world, awesome! I'm glad that our interventionism is able to fatten her kill streak. You know, speaking of kill streaks, by the way, I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. Talking about the rich, I have an analogy. I want to know what you think of it. I picture like the wealthiest assholes in the world, like the super wealthy people that are worth more than $1 billion to their own name. I just picture them all like fighting for the top spot on a leaderboard somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they go down to the they go down to Wall Street and check out the leaderboards every once in a while and say, fuck you, Bezos, I passed you up 3 hours ago. I'm now worth $300 billion.
Yeah.
Fucking Bill Gates. I had to give it to Bill Gates, though. He does a lot of cool shit with his money. But you got fucking Jeff Bezos. Jeff fucking Bezos. And this is the guy, he's like one of the wealthiest men on earth. And this is the guy that like a number of Amazon employees need supplemental income just to survive. Like food stamps, and welfare. Welfare, I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fucked up, man. He's hoarding all this wealth. And that's the point I make all the time. Who the fuck is who the fuck is actually defending these people saying, oh, the rich need all this money so that they can create jobs? How the hell are they creating any jobs or any wealth? Their money's not circulating. They're sitting on that shit. They're not churning that out into society. They're keeping amongst themselves and their elite fuckers.
Yeah.
And it's, oh my God, I just wish people would help me. People, get off the treadmill, get off the hamster wheel. Guys, we need to wake up. I know that the whole woke thing is super overplayed, but we gotta stop pretending that. I mean, our media lies to us all the time. We know that. It's fact. We can't trust the media when they control, when there's only 6 major media networks and they're all owned by corporations and they're the only ones that are funneling the news to people. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. There I go. See, there I did it again, man. I ranted about the rich again.
I mean, that's something you're passionate about.
Hashtag eat the rich. I am really, honestly, very passionate about it. And the thing is, I mean, you remember, I wasn't poor as a kid. We were kind of like middle class, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's family. I think it was middle class. Maybe I don't know. Back then, they were making a lot of money between the two of them, and despite the fact that he spent like 95% of his on comic books, living with his parents and spending it all on comic books.
Yeah, but I bet he could tell him now and be really, really rich.
I have no idea. Good for him.
Especially way back when he bought back when we were together, and that was, the mid-70s. But we're not going to talk about that.
No, not this time anyway. Oh no, I've done it again.
What?
I took a I hit a cigarette that I don't have.
Oh.
It's wow, I'm going into an hour and 10 minutes. It don't feel like it's been quite that long, does it?
Well,
So anyway, I've tried extending the invitation out to my friends and family locally and saying, hey guys, if you want to come on and be a guest, come on over and can do something, set something up, and actually be able to run interviews. Oh, wouldn't that be something? But
well, I'd be glad to do this again with you.
awesome, I appreciate that. Well, I was I was because man, I totally blanked on what I was going to say now. It must not been that important. Well, this is I really am having a lot of fun doing this because before when I tried to do stuff, I don't know, it seemed like I put so much work into it and then got so little return out of it.
Right.
And
How
it's
much work are you putting into this?
well, I mean, I'm not just pissing on this or nothing. I'm actually going to put quite a bit of effort into this too. But I see my problem was is I made these like pretty cool videos. I thought. I mean, they had a lot of editing and stuff that went into it. And it took me like 3 or 4 hours. I would record like half an hour of dialogue or something, and it would take me like 3 hours to edit the video the way that I wanted it to. And then I would upload it, and then it would get like 3 views. It's like, no, no one loves me.
Yeah, you go through all that time for, yeah.
Yeah, it really bites, honestly. Hmm. Sorry about that.
Don't get discouraged. You know, sometimes it takes a little time.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm gonna give this because this, like I said, this was fun. Hopefully, I can get some friends to come over and hang out, and we should do this again. Uh, I don't know how many times we're gonna do it, but this has already been twice this week, and if I don't know, I might do it all week. Shit, this is fun. But I guess this should go ahead and get it wrapped up. It's been fun, but guys, if you've liked this, I promise this will be better over time. But just if you like it, just hit like, subscribe, leave comments. Um, I like to open dialogue. Also, I by the way made I meant to tell you this at the beginning of the show. I opened a new podcast. I opened a new Discord. It's called the Broede Show. So yeah, that's by the way, that's my. I decided to name the show.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, thank you. And
You're welcome.
my daughter made that picture for me, by the way, with
Oh, that's awesome.
that face. Yeah, that was supposed to be for a different podcast that never took off, but I kept that image because I really liked it, and I've been
Yeah.
using it as my online avatar ever since. She's a really good artist. I look forward to seeing, she's got a little bit of an online presence. She does the deviant art, and she's in the deviant art community, and she's got Facebook friends. And we used to play Minecraft together a few years ago, and she met a lot of people through Minecraft. And she's really it's really interesting seeing this tiny person that's now grown up and so big, and just everything's falling into place. It's been a fantastic ride being a father.
Yes, and I'm very proud.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, that'll do it for tonight. Thanks, Mom, for coming on and hanging out with me.
You're Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me.
And to everybody else, I finally remembered what I wanted my sign out to be. Existence is pain. Bye-bye.